Right, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to the executive at East Herts on the 3rd of October. First of all, we'll start with apologies for absence. We've got.
Yes, Leader, there are two from Councillor Wilson and Councillor Dimon.
Thanks very much. Announcements. I've got nothing apart from the usual. If you speak, please speak into your microphone, as we're obviously online. And now item 3 is the minutes. We've got before us the minutes from the committee, the executive committee, on the 5th of September 23. Are you content for me to sign the minutes as being a correct record? Are there any comments? Miley?
Thank you, Leader. No, I so propose that we do accept these minutes.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Oh, thank you, Vicky. Great. Okay. We'll have a vote. All those in favour? Thanks very much. No. Okay. One abstention. Sorry. If that's for, any against, and any abstentions? One. Thanks very much. So those minutes are carried. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest for tonight? No. All clear. Thank you very much. Right, item 5 is the first item of papers. It's the Community Grants Policy and Priorities 2023 to 24, which is on pages 16 to 57 of the agenda pack. And it will be presented by Councillor Alex Dar, Executive Member for Communities. Oh, Alex, is you?
So just by way of introduction, members are given an opportunity to review the community grants policy on an annual basis, this policy has been to overview and scrutiny, and I'm going to focus on the changes that were made following that meeting. And then it's coming to executive tonight. And if we're asking you to recommend that the updates are accepted and it goes forward to full council. So first of all, to thank the officers for all their hard work in making sure that this policy aligns with the current priorities and reflects the updating of existing priorities, but also adding in new priorities, and for making sure that it aligns so what's happened this year is the amount of grant available in the pot has been reduced, contrasted to the last administration, but by making other pots of money available through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and making sure that the priorities and the system for applying align, there will be more money than we would hope for communities groups to apply for. So I'm going to draw your attention to the items that are listed on page 25 onwards, where we just to draw your attention to what we changed. So first of all, we made it very clear. So when overview and scrutiny met, they wanted to make it, were very concerned that individuals as well as constituted groups should have an opportunity to apply for funds still. And that was made much clearer. It already was in there, but we made it, the officers made that a lot clearer. We also the members were concerned about the amount of money that people could apply for. They wanted to ensure that small amounts could be applied for by small individuals and small groups. So we changed the wording to £300 at the bottom, so that it was clear that small grants could still be applied for. Now I'm having trouble moving my page on, excuse me. Don't know why. Thank you. And we also made some changes around the wording to make it clear that there were options for people to apply for priorities around physical and mental health. So I draw your attention to those changes, but I'm confident the changes that were brought up in the overview and scrutiny have been included in the policy that we're bringing here to you today. Any questions?
Well, thanks. You're proposing the paper?
Yes, I'm proposing that we accept the updated per
Thank you.
face off.
Thanks. Anyone to second? Thanks, Sarah. Yes, questions, comments, any thoughts? Marnie?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I would welcome this. I'm very pleased that it seems to have made the policy clearer and simpler. And I especially welcome the idea that small community groups would be eligible to apply for grants, even if they're not officially charities or statutory bodies. Because I think this will be very good for communities. And I welcome it very much. I hope we'll be able to publicise this so that little small community groups will realise that they would be able to apply for grants. And if they're applying for small grants, a small amount of money could make a huge difference to a small community group. So I think this is an excellent change to the policy, and I welcome this. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? Good. Okay. So we can, the recommendations for this is shown on page 16 of the agenda pack. Can we have a show of hands to indicate that you're in favour? Many thanks. Anyone against or abstaining? No. Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. Right, you can feel free to sneak out. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jonathan. Moving on to item 6. This is the review of the East Herts District Plan 2018, and it's on page 58 to 140 of the agenda pack. And it's being presented by Councillor Vicky Glover Ward, the Executive Member for Planning and Growth.
Thank you, Leader. As you're aware, the current East Herts District Plan was adopted in October 2018. Legally, a district plan should be reviewed within 5 years of adoption to consider whether it needs updating. East Herts District Council Planning Department has undertaken the assessment of our current district plan, and the report before us concludes that our district plan does need updating. How do we come to this conclusion? There has been an assessment of consistency of the district plan with National Planning Policy Framework, the PAS Local Plan Route Mapper Toolkit, and engagement with duty to cooperate bodies, and that's all contained within appendices 1 to 3 of the report. Whilst this type of review would normally be a relatively straightforward process, this is not currently the case because there's significant uncertainty around the government's proposed reforms on the planning system. Earlier this year, the government consulted on the proposed changes to the National Planning Policy Framework, and it's currently consulting on the implementation of a new plan making system. This new system is expected to start in autumn 2024. Given this uncertainty, we've recommended that a further report on the detailed scope of the update and the timetable is prepared once the implications of the new NPPF are better understood. The Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill has received royal assent, and the statutory framework required to implement the reforms has actually been approved. In the meantime, and while we're waiting on the full scope of the updates, it's clear that under the new plan making system, a strong evidence base will still be expected. As such, we can best use the next 12 months by updating the Council's evidence base and also other preparatory work needed to support an update to the district plan. This would include a call for sites. This will set us off to a flying start on updating the district plan when the new plan making system formally commences. The report also recommends that the District Planning Executive Panel is reconvened and that an engagement strategy is prepared, which sets out the Council's approach to consulting and engaging with the community and stakeholders. So I'd like to propose, in accordance with the proposals on page 59 of the agenda, that this report goes forward to full Council.
Thanks very much, Vicky. Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Sarah. Thank you. Comments, questions, thoughts? Carolyn.
You're looking at me, so This isn't really part of the district plan, but it does refer to affordable housing. And I do remember Councillor Chris Wilson 4 years ago saying, why can't we have a new definition of affordable housing, which really includes social housing as an item rather than just a sub-item in the affordable housing definition? Because I think we're really, not just East Herts, but all over the country, councils are falling far short of building enough of social housing. And I don't know whether this can be put into the review or something changed, but I really would like it to be. I just think it's not good enough at the moment that social housing is tacked onto the end. Or, you know, affordable housing is given a lot of discussion, but usually social housing falls off the end and is often, as is the case in some recent applications, is just not there at all. Thank you.
Okay, so I think I may have not explained particularly well. The review of the district plan is merely to find out whether we need to update it. Obviously, that is something that we can take on board when we get to the updating, if this goes through full council, that we do need to update it. But we would not be looking to start the updating until autumn 2024.
Understood. I did realise that, but I thought I'd get in early.
Oh, absolutely.
Very wise. Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. Miley.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, well, I'd like to thank the executive member and all the members of the planning team for all their work. A great deal of work has gone into this. I was very interested in one of the statutory consultees, the Environment Agency, and their discussion about sufficient water supply. I thought that was very interesting. So I do hope we'll follow up with that and do further consultation with them before the final report.
And we'll make a note of that, but I'm very sure that consultation with the Environment Agency is ongoing and imminent.
Great. Thank you very much. Carl.
Thank you. I was interested to see that in the calculation of the new housing requirements, we're still using a household projection from 2014, and just wondered whether there's any knowledge of whether that's going to be updated anytime in the near future.
I will try and answer this, but I might end up going over to the planning officers. We're currently using the appropriate method, but as I understand it, we can move on to the new method.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so obviously Appendix 4 sets out the fact that our housing need would change if we did look to update the plan, and does use a standard method. And you're right that the standard method would currently use the 2014 projections. There at the minute, that's what we're meant to use, and certainly for the near future, that looks to be the case. There has been discussion, I think, from central government around whether that will change in the future, and there is the likelihood that it could change, certainly because it's becoming fairly out of date now. So I think it's a case of watch this space, but certainly the other thing just to note is that there's an adjustment for affordability as well in that. So that's the thing that sort of changes year on year, which is why we sometimes have a subtle difference in the figure that's currently 1,112. But yeah, certainly if the sort of the baseline figure, which the 2014 projections change, there'll be probably more of a significant change. Which way that is, we don't know, and of course it's dependent on the methodology that we're required to use at the time.
Thanks very much, George. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, Alex.
In this review, we agreed that we feel that there is a need to go ahead with the review. Will there be any opportunities to look at the conservation area in the houses, the opportunities to put solar panels and so on there? Because I have been asked by residents recently about making that easier.
When we go through the update, then yes, I'm sure we can, but I might pass over to the service manager for planning policy, design and conservation to just confirm that.
Just saying earlier, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
Absolutely, in terms of the actual update and scope of the that update, we can look at that. I don't know whether we've got a current Article 4 direction in Bishop Stortford, and it may be that you're talking about something to do with that. I'm not sure, but that is something that has been raised as how we accommodate sort of climate change within our conservation areas. So we would look at that.
Great, thanks very much. Peter.
Sorry, firstly, just following on from what's just been said, I would just say that it's broader than just conservation areas, that we have a huge number of listed buildings in East Herts, and every one of them has been affected by how you make your property sustainable and energy saving. It's ridiculous in the 21st century that we're still struggling to meet the needs of a large chunk of our population. The other thing that I did want to say, and it's gone back to, and I guess this was about 2016 when the village hierarchy study was done, and Claire's smiling because fond memories of it. And again, we are predominantly a rural district with a large number of villages. And if you think about how villages looked in 2016, many of them look very different now. And where our Group 1 villages still Group 1 villages, there's lots of facilities that have closed down. Certainly in the parish I live myself, it's nowhere near, doesn't look anywhere near what it did in 2016. So I would just ask that there was some focus done around the village chapter. Thank you.
Just to reassure you, we have already started some initial work on an updated village hierarchy study. So we are looking to obviously update the evidence base over forthcoming months. And so once we've got a bit further with that piece of work, we will start engagement with parish councils as we did previously. So absolutely, we acknowledge in the last 5, 6, 7 years, there have been significant changes, both in terms of facilities and services, public transport, etc. So we would need to take all of those into account. So yes, reassure you that we are going to be looking at that.
Thanks very much. Any other questions? Yeah, Neil.
Thank you. Pass on my thanks to the officers for the work so far, and I suspect the work over the next year. But mostly a point of just clarification for me. Paragraph, was it 345 on page 78, which is talking about the makeup of the district planning executive panel, and says that it's made up of the leader and 2 other executive members, but all councillors are invited to attend and participate. I just want to clarify that genuinely all councillors of that members of the executive councillors, and are we planning to do the same this time?
Yeah, so certainly all councillors were invited to attend, and a lot did last time. It was an opportunity for councillors to ask questions of officers, and it actually worked very well, I think. So we would certainly be looking to replicate that this time.
Thank you.
Very much. Any other last thoughts? No? Okay. Right, good, thank you. There are 6 recommendations here. I'm not going to read them out. A to F, and they're on pages 58 and 59 of the agenda pack. Can we take a vote on them as on block, please? All those in favour? Thanks very much. Anyone against? And anyone abstaining? No. Okay, that was carried. Thanks very much. Good. So the next item, item 7. Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you very much, planning officers. Much appreciated. Item 7 is the Hertford Castle Grounds Improvement Project. the award of the National Lottery Heritage Fund grant. This is on pages 141 to page 224 of the agenda pack. And it's being presented by Councillor Sarah Hopewell, Executive Member for Wellbeing. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Ben. So this is in reference to a successful bid that the bid took place some time ago in February. It was a joint bid between East Herts District Council and Hertford Town Council following a period of consultation. And it presents a really exciting opportunity to put several things in place around the grounds to improve accessibility, make it a more inclusive experience, increase kind of the habitat aspect of it as well, and to make several improvements to the area. So the bid is in 2 stages. So this is to look at the initial stage where there's the scoping aspect of the work, and then we would then from the back of this then apply for the second stage, which potentially could mean being successfully awarded around £2.5 million to then carry out the work. So just with reference to this stage, the ask is for us to approve our contribution towards it, which would be £20,517, and Hertford Town Council would also be putting funding towards it. And this would then go with the grant fund, which is around 342,000. And with this money, we would carry out some extensive surveying to really put together a really good case for the second stage. So it would involve things like community engagement, doing various detailed surveys, developing detailed designs, undertaking various different reviews, sort of hiring key positions to enable all of this to happen. The second stage is a competitive process, so nothing's guaranteed, but if we put together a really strong first stage, fingers crossed. The risk, well, first of all, this does not commit us to then going ahead with stage 2, but it enables the opportunity to go ahead with stage 2. There are some bits of work that need to take place anyway that come at a cost. So this potential £2.5 million would potentially help cover those costs, which we would have to be funding at some point anyway, especially around accessibility to the site. It would provide an opportunity to replace a couple of bridges and improve accessibility, which would be a really good opportunity. Also an opportunity to look at moving the playground away from the A414 where there's particular concerns around air quality. So that would be a great benefit to children's health in that area. The risk if we don't go ahead with this is that certain aspects will still need funding anyway and will come at a cost, which we would have to find elsewhere. It's
caring for